Yes.
you know.
Yeah, it's gonna
It's
be
going to be
fine.
great.
It's gonna be fine. I ain't gonna worry about it.
Hey,
Thank you guys for joining.
yes,
I love it.
yes. So we're
Glad to be
going to go ahead
here.
and get started. So my name is Tiffany Savage. I'm the Vice President of Gullah Business of Charleston. And this is Nicole Pringle. Nicole, you want to introduce yourself?
I am the president. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, that is the president of Gullah Business of Charleston. And we are excited because tonight we have Miss Kris Kaylin, the Princess
The
of Charleston, here with us. So I'm just gonna do like my little introduction because we had a preview of what's to come. And so anybody that's gonna be tuning in, if they don't tune in tonight and later on if they watch it, just know this interview, this is going to be fire right here. She is bigger than a radio personality. I just want you to know that she is a media personality. And I say that sincerely because her personality is bigger than life. She is very humble. She is just like, I would say she is a gem herself. And so we are here and we are humble and we are blessed because she could have chose anywhere to be on this Sunday. In fact, she could have been resting, but she chose it to be with us. And she anything like me, I like my sleep if I can get it. So here with us is Miss Kris Kaylin. Everybody get up.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for having me. And thank you for your professionalism. It was just very much top tier. So I am excited for this.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're gonna begin. So I want to ask you, how did you even begin? Like even your journey for like how you started, right? Or how did you even know in your mind, hey, this is where I want to start? Or did you just follow to it?
So, really good question. So, I graduated, well, I went to graduated in 2016 from the South Carolina State University. But when I went to state, I went in as a business major. So, my sophomore year, first semester, I took accounting. So, this is the thing. When I took accounting, filled it with flying colors. This was my first time in my entire collegiate career that I ever got a failing grade. So like I'm trying to get a tutor, figure things out. And like in one of my tutoring sessions, I'm like, you know what? This is not for me. Like I don't want to do this. Like no. And that next day I went to my advisor and I switched my major and I said I want to do what Ryan Seacrest does. So sophomore, second semester, I changed my major to broadcast communications. Literally the best decision I ever made in my entire life. And so when I switched my major over, I will say it was like a new program at State. So like everything that I learned was self-taught. So between YouTube University and my professors and just getting it out the mud. So at State, I started my very first web series, which was called Bulldog Bite. It is still on my YouTube channel. And Bulldog Bite was my baby. So I don't know if you guys remember I'm telling my age, but it was a show that came on MTV2 called Guy Code and Girl Code. So I pretty much ripped the idea and I made it for HBCUs. So we would talk about Fried Chicken Wednesday, financial aid, homecoming, the walk of shame, like just everything. And it started to become a thing. So it just wasn't students on state campus watching it. Like I'll never forget Clemson had a watch party for Bulldog Bite. And I was like, oh, wow. So that's how I started. I also interned at WSSB. That's the radio station at State. So South Carolina State does have a radio station in Nance Hall. So I interned there. But even when I interned at the radio station, I had no desire to be on air talent. In my mind, I was just like, you know, if I want to get into media, it's rare that when you first get hired, you get hired as on-air talent. So I was like, I just need to get my foot in the door. So I want to learn everything. So I learned how to edit music, how to upload music. So pretty much I was programming the radio station at WSSB. So when I graduated from South Carolina State in 2016, cum laude, I came back to Charleston. So like I was working at, you know, in the communications major. The first thing they do is send you to a call center. So I was at Verizon Wireless for all of 1 month. After I got cussed out over $5 charge on their bill, I was like, this is not for me. Yeah, so this is not my ministry. So in between all of this, like I'm interviewing. So I was like, I didn't want to be that person that like graduated college and is still hanging out on the campus. I was like, Little Dog Bite has to end. Like, it has to end. I didn't want it to end, but I graduated. So, like, what am I going to do next? I had, at least at this point, like 1,500 subscribers on YouTube. So I was like, let me turn this into a different series. So I started the Charleston Summer Series. So I was interviewing like boutique owners, chefs, bar mixologists, just anyone in between. But when I interviewed Jarrell Jerome, and if you're not familiar with Jarrell Jerome, anyone who's on the live, he won an Emmy for When They See Us. So when he was in Charleston at the time, he was filming for the show called Mr. Mercedes. And he was also like a budding artist. And it was his vinyl shop on Spring Street, and they would like have pop-up shows. And so I went and I interviewed him and the producer he was working with at the time, and that got a ton of views. And I was like, wait. So when I interview musical artists, that's where I get the most views. So I'm like, all right, cool. So at the time, like the Charleston City Paper and the Post and Courier, they were covering artists, but it would either be like white artists or or like, you know, Black artists that they felt were safe. And not taking anything from anyone, I feel like all these artists were amazing, but there were a lot of like artists, rappers who I felt like deserved the platform and they weren't getting it from the local publication. And I'm like, well, I got subscribers on YouTube. I got a following on Instagram. I'm going to interview y'all. And so from that point, that's when I started the Charleston Summer Series. And my views just started to skyrocket. So from Harley Boys to Poppy Native to Anthony to Benny Starr, Matt Monday, like I had the opportunity to interview so many people and just let other people know about these artists. And then, you know, everyone started to catch up. So like now I'm seeing the City Paper. They're starting to, you know, reach out to these artists. And now the Post and Courier is starting to include these artists. So my whole thing was I just wanted to give artists that I thought were dope a platform. So from there, so I'm doing, you know, these interviews with local artists. Someone from the radio station reached out to me. And like I said, you know, it's odd that when you get into media, your first thing is being on air. So I didn't go looking for the job. They came to me because of the interviews that I was doing throughout the city. So so at this time, I'm working at South Carolina State, my alma mater, as a admissions counselor. So I'm living in Charleston, but I am driving to Orangeburg every day. Maniac. I was losing my mind. I was clearly crazy. So like and I was the admissions recruiter. So not only was I traveling throughout South Carolina, I had to travel out of state. So driving to DC, going to Virginia, like all of these places. And it was like in June where I'm just like, you know what? My body is exhausted. Like I'm worn out. So mind you, I sent in my ear check for the radio station like December, January. I did not hear back from them until July. So like, I promise you, God is always working. The day before I put in my 2 weeks notice at South Carolina State, I loved being a mission recruiter, but just to travel in itself was just wearing my body out. I promise you, the next day when I was driving to Orangeburg, I got a call from the radio station saying, hey, we want you to start on Saturday. And I'm like, dang, I should have quit earlier. But so I got that call. And I started at the radio station. So when I started on Saturday, and my numbers were amazing. So then I got Saturday and Sunday. And it was a specialty show called Chucktown Hit Factory. That like, and now like, you know, on the other end of it, like I would always get so like annoyed with the artists sometimes because my whole thing is like, I just need y'all to send your music, send the clean music. Because granted, I was doing Chucktown Hit Factory just as a labor of love. But when we're counting dollars, at the radio station, let me just be completely transparent here. When I worked at the radio station, that's how I want y'all to know this is something I loved. I only made $50 every 2 weeks. Okay? I only made $50 every 2 weeks working at the radio station. So when I did Chucktown Hit Factory, I was getting $10 for that show. So for me to drive to the radio station, program the show, put everything in, and schedule interviews, all for the whopping amount of $10. So now, that's why when I'm just like, all I need y'all to do is just please sing your music and clean. That's the only thing, because I am doing all of this for $10. But like I said, I loved what I was doing, and I was already doing it for Next Up Charleston. So for me, it was just another platform. So ended up leaving the radio station in 2020. One, and I just started getting a lot of opportunity, a lot of different things happening. And then in March of, this is 2024, 2023, I was assaulted by someone who worked at the radio station. So at this point in time, like, I was like, I feel like I was on such a high, like peaking. And when that incident happened, I felt like I was forced to wear a scarlet letter around Charleston for something that happened to me that was completely out of my control. That should have never happened. But it opened my eyes to a lot of things. It opened my eyes to how Charleston operates. It opened my eyes to how small the media industry is. And like, I was down, and like, that's why I stopped doing interviews, because at this point in time, like, I was not secure in myself. I was not happy with what was going on. So I cannot sit across from somebody and ask them questions. Like, I wasn't there. I was not there. But it did get to a point where I was just like, you know what? One, I'm not anyone's victim. If anything, I'm a survivor. Two, I am not going to allow this to set my course for the rest of my life, for the rest of my media career. None of that. And it just got to a point where I was just kind of like, you know what? I want my joy back. And I promise you, in like June, I can't look at the comments, y'all gonna make me cry. In June, I was just like, I want my joy back. Like, I'm not doing it. Oh, y'all gotta stop these comments. But I was like, I want my joy back. And I was just tired of just like feeling like I was responsible for something that should have never happened to me. So at this point in time, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get back to what I was doing. I was doing a weekend rundown segment on ABC News 4 and Fox 24. When that incident happened, I got kicked off the news. So I was just like, damn. So that's how In the Loop got started. Because I was like, no one, once I like kind of snapped back into what I wanted to do and what my goal was, I just got focused. So once I was just like, you know what? I want my joy back. I want all of this back. That later that month, I connected with Charlemagne. He came down for an event in Charleston. And like, I'm just saying jokingly, I'm like, so when you gonna put me on a Breakfast Club? In that 2-minute interaction, I get an email with him connecting me with the producer, and I got my date for the Breakfast Club. And I was like, you know what? I see you, God. Because like I said, I just, at that point in time, I don't want to be sad anymore. I don't want to be depressed anymore. Shout out to my therapist, Dr. Chanel Fields. And just getting back to the point where it's like, okay, I'm loving me, I'm back to me, and this is not going to affect my career. So from that point on, I didn't say anything to anybody. I was just on the Breakfast Club. Like, that was the July 18th, 17th, and 18th. I'll never forget those days. But I was on the Breakfast Club, and from that point on, I just like picked myself back up from the bootstraps, started everything. So so far this year, I've conducted 3 interviews. I got one coming up this week, and just getting back to what I'm doing, starting the playlist again. And like, I always, and what I had to learn is like, a lot of times people don't want to talk about their experiences or be transparent about their experiences for fear of being blackballed. And so we all had a previous conversation before we got on. And like, right now, it's just like I said, I've been applying to get a radio position. And like I said, because of the incident that I experienced, even though it was not my fault, I cannot, even being on a Breakfast Club, cannot get a job in radio. And I was like, at first I like felt the type of way about it, but I was like, you know what? God is saying bigger. And that's just what I just have to accept. And like I said, when I was doing these interviews with the Charleston Summer Series, the radio station came to me, and I'm just like, you know what, Kris? Go back to the basic. When you go back to the basic, when you go back to your true talent and your true gifts, you're always going to get blessed. So I'm like, I'm going back to the basics. And you heard it here first. You heard it on this platform. By the end of 2024, I am going to be on your TV screens. And I'm saying that with confidence. So yeah, that was a very long explanation, but that is my journey as to how I got here now.
You good. It was warranted, and we touched and agreed, just like I told you before, because I want everybody that's watching this now, watches, the replay later on. She is blowing up. So please don't don't sleep on her. Please don't. Don't sleep on her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're just so excited and blessed that you came up here and stuff to speak about this, because I think a lot of people don't realize how radio is very male dominated. They really don't think about it like that, because
Mm,
I was just talking with Nicole about, like, when you talk about stories like Kathy Hughes, what she had to go through.
right,
And and she didn't really talk about it until she got to a certain standard, a certain level,
right.
because she said it was just like, it was so easy to be blackballed. Like, people don't really think about that. And she hit a lot of glass ceilings to
Yes.
own her own radio station. That was a big deal.
A
So,
big deal and a huge move.
and people don't even, you need to give your flowers to Kathy Hughes right now.
Yes,
Like, because people really just
absolutely.
don't realize you would not see a lot of women in radio if it wasn't for people like that.
Not at all. Not at all.
So
And it's like these are the shoulders. And like a lot of people ask me, like, why do you say Princess of Charleston and not Queen? Because I am very aware that there are a lot of media women in the game who are from Charleston who have been doing this. So I would never want to step on toes and just
mhm,
take that title. When the time comes years from now, cool. But
mhm.
like I am confident with being the princess because I am very aware of the moguls and just of you got your Callan Murrays and just all of these different people who are, in Charleston who are doing their big ones. So it's just kind of like, I bow to them and I know those are the shoulders that I stand on. So that's why I confidently hold the crown as a princess because nobody's seen the princess.
That is dope. It's dope. I know Nikki got a few questions too,
Oh
because
yeah, because we're talking about going forward, and we're calling you a media personality because you're so broad. You go everywhere. You don't have to just be in radio
Right.
doing big things. But you was talking about the Breakfast Club. I just want to get your experience on that because we talked earlier about it, and I think the people don't know how amazing that experience is.
That was top tier, the best experience I've ever had in all of my 30 years. So, like I said, when I got the email, the call to go on the Breakfast Club, it was almost like a surreal thing. And what's crazy is when I first went up to New York, when I didn't go up for the Breakfast Club, this is when I just did the voiceover for Charlemagne's show. And I got on a plane and I saw my commercial and I heard myself. And I was like, this is amazing. So when I actually got the opportunity to go up and be a co-host, like I said, this is a show that I listen to every morning from the time that I was in high school. Like when I'm in my house and they're having topics or discussions, I'm in here answering, like I'm on, like before Angela even said she was leaving, I'm like answering the questions and saying what I would say, ask this question for an interview. And I always tell people, study your craft. It doesn't matter when, study your craft. Every day I watch an interview, whether it be a Nardwar interview, whether it be oh God, what's his name? He has a show on Netflix. I can't think of his name. I gotta look it up. But like it's certain interviewers who I love, David Letterman, like just
yeah.
certain people like who I just love watching, and not to like copy what they're doing, but to be inspired by what they're doing as an
Mhm.
interviewer. So when I got to the Breakfast Club, for one, it is a well-oiled machine. They are not, and I'm not saying this because I was on the show. They are not the number one syndicated show for no reason. I only say that because in working in radio, you realize you are a one-man band. Whatever, you have to pull your own topics, you got to cut your own sounds, you got to book your own interview. Like I said, I was doing all this for $10. So yeah. So like when I walked into the Breakfast Club, first things first, they have all black women producers. Not
Mm.
are they just all black women, they're young. No one is over the age of 30. So take all that ageism out right there and then.
Wow.
Like the oldest people there is Charlemagne and Envy. And yeah. So like even and let me take that back. The program director over iHeart is a black woman. I met her. So like these are all young people, all young interns. Let's just call it that. They do have three men producers, Eddie, OVO Eli, and Radio Mac, all amazing. And they're like, like when you walk into a space, you can feel the energy immediately.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk into that space, the energy is just warm, welcome. Mind you, when you get there, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, but everyone's just like I've never seen people happy to be that up early in that early. So when I walked in, one of the producers, Simp. So like everyone has a designated job, and when you realize everyone has their own job, everyone is not overwhelmed. So Simp, Samantha, they call her Simp. So she comes up with all the topics for the rumor report. So everything she writes up, pretty much she said, these are your options which you can talk about. She wrote a script out. I can either be on script or I can go off script, whatever. Mind you, they don't know me from a can of paint, but they trusted me to go off script. So that was like
Wow.
awesome. So Sid, so all of those collaboration posts that was when I was on the Breakfast Club, when I did my rumor report, that is all Sid. So like as the show was running in real, and that's what I realized the first time. So like the first time I went, like they have like these cameras in there. They don't like, because I'm used to like when they were on, they had the actual big cameras. So like I'm talking, I'm in my phone, I'm doing this, and when I look at the playback, I'm like, oh, these are cameras. Noted, got it. So like when I went on the next day, I'm like, okay, I know where to look and what to do, because everything you're being filmed at all times from multiple angles. So like once I realized that these were all like you can see everything, I was like, oh, okay, I probably should get off my phone. But yeah, so like you have Sid who's just there cutting. So like when I got back on my Instagram, it's like, okay, Breakfast Club wants to collaborate with a post with you. I don't have to go back and edit any clips because it's being uploaded in real time. And then Taylor, so I got first of all, any drop that you hear. So the drop we hear when the Breakfast Club comes on, when they do Donkey of the Day, any audio sound that you are hearing is produced by Taylor, Black woman. So like she produced that I will hold on until I die. Okay, it's gonna remain in my Google Drive forever. My Breakfast Club drop. So like she produced that, and so just seeing how the team works, like even having an intern come up saying, "Hey, what do you need from the boutique? What do you need from the store? You need tea, coffee, whatever." So like it is just such a warm, welcoming environment, and to come to the Breakfast Club like after, and I will say, after my experience that I had with that man attacking me, when I walked into the break, I was excited, but underlining, I was a little nervous because I'm like, damn, this is a male-dominated industry. So if I do get back into this, I'm going to have to deal with men. But I will say, like, Charlamagne and Envy, like, I'm just not saying that because I work with them. They are awesome people. Like, Envy ended up coming to Charleston 2 weeks after that. And, like, they are just really amazing people. Just the gems that they gave me after the show, like off air, I will always appreciate it. But like just to be able to have such an awful experience, but to come around like grown men who know how to handle themselves and to be professional, it was something that let me know that like everyone isn't like this. So it was an amazing experience, and I enjoyed it so much. And just the opportunity to not be on there one time, but to be on 4 times. And it was one of those things that's the way, like, when you get an opportunity, are you going to freeze up or what are you going to do? And baby, I killed it. So that was the best part. But I loved it. Like, it was an amazing experience. I'm very happy for Jess getting that spot. And it's just like, girl, if you didn't answer that call, I was ready. Super ready. But yeah, so, and like, even with that, I was like, listen, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So I was like 90% sure that they was going to give Jess the job. It was just like the roll up that they wanted to do. It's provocative. It keeps the people going. The drama. Is she going to be there? So that was awesome. But like I know at the end of the day, I did an amazing job. And just to have people from the city, it's so many people who did not know me, who heard me on the Breakfast Club. And it was like, I just enjoyed you so much. And they started following me and connecting with me. So like, I was just able to build a really awesome platform and just connect with a lot of amazing people. So it is something that I don't take for granted. And it's something I will cherish near and dear to my heart, because everybody can't say they went on the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
That is so true. That's so true. You never know who's watching.
Yes.
But just the fact to know that they drop gems like that is very impressive, because we were talking, me and Nicole again, we be having conversations all the time. People just don't realize this is not something we just do live. We actually talk to each other. So you gotta put that in there, because sometimes you'll be surprised how many people don't talk to each other until they get on, like they do something live. But
Literally.
we actually talk to each other.
You can
And
feel
so
the
we were talking about,
disconnection.
yeah. So we were talking about how people, when they get to a certain status, sometimes they forget to pull some people up. And we were talking about how we were raised around people who you weren't blessed until you could help somebody. You know what I'm saying? And so just to hear that Charlemagne and them, their team is built on them helping other people and, you know, getting them in position, that is dope, because so many of us forget that. We think when we arrive, we just, okay, I arrived, I'm here, that's it. But you know, you gotta watch out because somebody watched out for you.
Literally, and
Someone watched out for you.
literally that each one teach one reaching back. And I mean something that I haven't publicized, because my whole thing is like, if I'm doing work in the community, I don't need to put a camera in people's face. I always say that. So like, you know, when you say give back, so
Mhm.
I'm working with Liberty Hill in Charleston. They're alternative school, but they started a podcast program, and just working with these students and seeing what excites them. And it's just like, everyone doesn't want to be on air. Everyone doesn't want to be, you know, on camera. So it's like, all right, well, you can run the social media. You can come up with the marketing colors. So working with these students and just like with podcasting, because a lot of times, you know, when students end up in alternative schools, they think no one cares about them. And speaking with the principal, he was just like, most of the students, either they end up dead or in jail when they leave here if they don't graduate. And that's heavy. So for them to say, you know what, let's start this podcast program. Let's get these students. So like the principal, and I don't know who's on the live, but if anybody who wants to help out, but he's coming out of pocket to buy this podcast equipment.
Wow.
He's coming out of pocket to do a lot of these things. So when they reached out to me, I'm like, he was just like, we just need guidance to know what we want to do. It's the least that I can do and just show up. So eventually, you know, they want to bring people on once they get everything up and running, to interview people and to have, you know, these people turn and be mentors for these students. So like that's something that I said I'm working on. Like I haven't publicized it because like I just care about the work. So I just want to make sure the students feel seen. I want to make sure that they feel like they matter, and that's the big thing. Feeling like they matter and feeling like their voices are heard. So that is something that I'm just super excited to be working with. So I see some people. So send me a DM, but like I said, so he's coming to pocket for everything. If you want to assist with that, shoot me a DM and I will link you guys up. But yeah, so that is something that I'm super excited about, and just, you know, to see them drop their first episode.
That's
I'm
awesome.
excited about that. And that leads to another question because look, I said this last night when we were on with David. Like, so many times we'll have like questions that we're gonna go through it because we want to make sure we hit everything up. But people are so intertwined, and I say this all the time with what they're doing because that's your
Right,
passion. So you wear it like a glove. You know, you just wear it on you.
right.
It just fits naturally. But it's like now with everything with podcasting, that's exciting that you're doing that. You're giving students a voice to speak out because most of the time, like you said, they feel like they're being ignored because
Yeah,
of things that they've went through.
yeah.
And people are so quick to clothe you for the rest of your life with something you did in two
Oh,
seconds. And
Hello.
you're like, you know, and so that is awesome that you're giving a voice to them. Um, and just think about podcasting now and how everything's digital. How do you see media personalities having to evolve, and how have you done that just for, you know, just for you?
Yeah, so I often tell people, I was like, if TikTok and content was like where it is now, like when I was in college, oh, I would have been out of here. But it's like now, you know, seeing how content is, one, it is changing so rapidly. And that's what I always tell students. So I spoke at Benedict on Friday. So hey, all the students at Benedict that might be on this live, amazing. Shout out to BC Media. But I always tell students when they ask me like, how did you get started? Or I want to start a podcast or this, and this, but I don't have X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
Y'all got this phone. Everybody who was on this live got a phone. If you have a phone, you can create content. Like, and that's just the thing. So like now, like with social media, and I will say the difference is I think now in content now, they want to see your personality more. And that's something that I had to learn. So like I was talking to a friend of mine and he was just kind of like, you know, I see what you post, your interviews, you're in the loop, but you don't showcase your personality really. And I was just like, I thought I did, but and you know, and the more he said that, I was just like, okay. And that's what I'm realizing. Like people on TikTok, they're doing what they got to do because they're showcasing their personalities, and people are realizing they're personable, and people want to be around them. So like, but the way social media is just going. And I never want to be the person that say follow the trends, because stay true to your content. But even, let me just say, for the of course video that me and Clay did, that is not like my type of content that I typically do. But when I did it, I saw the engagements that it got, and I was like, you know what? Maybe he was on to something when he said show my personality some more. So it's just one of those things that realizing that social media is just an ever. I am so sorry. My dog is losing. Give me one second.
That's
Rocket,
all
please.
right. We met him earlier before the show.
He might be important when we had
Listen,
movie.
Rocket runs the show. Rocket runs the show. But so it's
Oh,
just
There you go.
realizing that, hi, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. I am sorry. This,
no,
listen,
you good.
very much dog mom.
Good. It reminds me of one of our old dogs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, I will say, doing, and I will say there was another TikToker who did a really good job at breaking this down. And he was like, your base is what you want people to know you by. So that, including some lifestyle content in the middle, but going back to, your base as what people know you by. So like I would definitely creating the content that you want. Oh yeah, keep creating the content that you want to create, but also, throw your personality in there. And when you're throwing your personality in, that doesn't mean we need to know who you're dating or like all your personal business or where you work, but just like, maybe your personal views. So that's why I love doing my podcast so much. So I have on my podcast, what was said podcast I do with Clay, because I just get to, showcase my personality, and some of the off-color things that I may say on there, I wouldn't necessarily put on my Instagram. So it's just a blending of both, I'll say.
I have a question, because we talked earlier, and I didn't even know this part, but this was amazing because your personality, like we got on, I felt like I knew you already. I'm like, I know her, I'm like, oh, her. Just the vibe. I'm like, oh, she's great. But we were talking about who inspires you, and you brought up your mom. If you could talk about her, especially for Black History Month, I think everybody should know about this.
So my mom, my BFF, I'm pretty sure she's on this live because she don't miss nothing I do. But like, so when I went up to the Breakfast Club, like it was just such an amazing experience for me, because like my mom was just sitting there and she was just so happy. So like my mom, so I'm a second generation Bulldog. My mom graduated from South Carolina State, and she was the only, well, not the only, excuse me, the first female to get a full ride scholarship at South Carolina State. So Clemson offered her 2 years and State offered her 4. And when she went to South Carolina State, her jersey is the only jersey that's retired in the gym. My mom has over 3,000 points scored at South Carolina State, and this is before 3-pointers were a thing. So if they calculate, because she was hitting threes, so if they calculate 3-pointers in there, I'm pretty sure the number would shoot up. But so she played for South Carolina State, and my mom played in the WBL, which is the Women's Basketball League. So the WBL folded in 2 years after that. That's when the WNBA came about. So, people like Dawn Staley and all these NBA players, they stand on the shoulders of my mom. So in 2017, 2018, my mom got inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame in Knoxville, Tennessee. So if anyone just happens to go to Knoxville, Tennessee, she'll be there. And most recently in 2020, they had the ceremony in 2021, but she was inducted into the South Carolina Hall of Fame. So my mom is in 4 Hall of Fames. She was All-Star, Muhammad Ali All-Star. Like, she's the baddest left-handed point guard in the game. So, but I say all that
Yeah,
to
she
say,
left-handed. That's what.
Oh, wow.
so, like, and the reason why my mom inspires me so much, because like even back, so when I came up, we had the conversation. I graduated from an art school, so I went to School of the Arts, and from the time that I started dancing, like my mom, you would think that like she danced, because like anything, she would always say, Kris, if you're going to do something, 1, you need to be passionate about it. 2, you need to have your gear. You need to have everything. So from dancing, like, if you don't have your gear, if you're late, you're not prepared. You would think my mom was like in the military, and she wasn't. But so that is just what she instilled in me. Study your craft, always be the best as you can at your craft, and just be excellent. So like when my mom is someone who reached the highest of her career, like my mom did the Olympics, all of that. So it's like when I have someone who reached the highest height in their career, something that they wanted to accomplish. Like, I just admire that so much. So like anything that she tells me or any advice that she has, like I take it, because at the end of the day, even though we're not in the same field, if you're around somebody who's a winner, if you're around somebody who's excellent, like they're just going to give you good advice. So like being able to be on the Breakfast Club, and like when I look at the video and I just see her in the background and she's just so happy, I'm like, I made my mom proud. So like that's just why. So like she is definitely like my top inspiration, somebody that like I always aim to emulate, just not in the basketball source or realm, but just as a person. So like my mom retired this last year because she, after like, she's done so many things, but like after basketball she got into the school systems and that, but for the last 10 years she was working as a drug and alcohol counselor. So like just to see like just a compassionate side, just so many different dimensions of her, and it's just like, you know, she, and what gives me so much courage and what makes me feel good, my mom has changed career paths multiple times. Like you went from basketball to being a teacher, from that to being a drug and alcohol counselor. So it just lets me know that like your journey never ends. It just reinvents into something else, and just go to be great in that. So she is definitely, you know, a rock star in my eyes.
Oh,
That's awesome.
that is, that is. And like that's some big shoes to fill, but I can see how you be challenged. You
Yes.
like, Mom,
Listen, and you know it was so crazy. Like I'll never forget. I did not know about like and what I love about it, she never pushed basketball on me. I did not know about my mom's career until they retired her jersey at South Carolina State in 2006. So like I'm in sixth grade and I'm like figuring out like, why are we here? We're in the middle of a
wow.
basketball court. Like all these people are cheering for. Who are you? Like, who are you? What do you have going on? And at that time, like she had this huge scrapbook that her dad made for her, documenting her, like from newspaper clippings, everything from the time she played in high school up until her professional career. So she gave me the scrapbook, and I'm just like, oh wow, you're cool. So like, and that's the thing. So like when I came up, I started dancing. So she never put basketball on me. She let me find my own thing, and she just supported that. So like my mom, like super supportive. It doesn't matter what I'm going to do. She just want me to be the best at it. And so that's it.
That is sweet. That is so sweet. And she was just humble about it. But what you find
Very,
a lot of
very, and
people
like,
are, you
and it's
know.
crazy. Like even when like she was in the store earlier this week, and this lady was like, "Do you know who this is? It's a Hall of Famer." And my mom hates that. Like she was like, "I do not like that attention. Like stop."
Wow. But you find out a lot of people who have, you know, done a lot of great accomplishments, they're really humble about it. You can be the same
Very.
person, sit back and be quiet. It's like, what? It's so
Very
funny.
true.
That's why you always pay attention to quiet ones in the
That's true.
room. You always
Be-
do. You
those the
always do.
ones who just
I that
soak up
father now.
everything. Those the ones who have the most gems. Because they always say an empty wagon make the most noise.
It does. It does. And so you touched on so many things because, like I said, we knew this interview was going to be a good one. We already did. We already knew it was going to be a good one because you already talked about your community, how you give back to it, and that was another reason why um, Nicole had reached out to you because we know you're big on Charleston and the fact that you don't forget about
Yes.
and that is important because
I
I
don't play
want to
about
touch on.
Charleston.
Yeah, I want to touch on this before we end, but we were talking about networking. And so for anybody, this is another gem. We were talking about essence and the power of networking and making sure that you have a system that you have like-minded individuals around you. And so we were just discussing that and how people should network with each other. If you want to talk more on that, because I don't
Yes.
want to take a shot, because you nipped it right in the bud when you just described it.
I feel like a lot of times, and I'm just going to use examples. So, like, a lot of times people come up to me and they're just like, "Can you tell Charlemagne X, Y, and Z? Or can you connect me with Charlemagne?" And it's just like, that's cool. But would you rather Charlemagne remember you because Kris Kaylin introduced you to him?
Mhm.
Or would you want to build your own connection? And the only reason I say that, because it's just kind of like, you could do that, or you can network across. And I always believe, like, I'll never forget Issa Rae said that in an interview. Like, when she was first coming up and she had Awkward Black Girl, she is networking with her friend who's a videographer. And he is networking with his friend who's an actress. And she's networking with her friend who knows how to edit. So we're networking across. And then when we boom, get the big show and we get the call from HBO to do Insecure, we're all going because we were networking across. And so, like, that's what I always tell people. I'm like, you know, you can have him remember you because of me, but like I always tell people, like, the beauty of it, when Charlamagne reached out to me, no one can say, oh, I introduced you. And even if that was the case, cool. But it's just the fact that, like, he heard me on air. He sent me a DM. And I will say, side note, this is why it's so important for your social media names to match whatever you're doing. Because I'm Kris Kaylin on air. So my name on social media is Kris Kaylin. So just Kris Kaylin across the board. So he found my Instagram, shot me a DM, and we chopped it up that first day for like 2 hours. Just him dropping gems and saying, you know, if anything that comes my way, you know, I got you. And when I tell you, he has been a man of his word, from doing voiceovers to just commercials to just so many different opportunities. Like, I super appreciate it. So it's just like now being in this position. And I think that's like why deep down I started Next Up, because I saw all of these artists that we had in Charleston. They're all amazing artists. But in my mind, I didn't feel like it was a platform for everyone to see each other across the board. So it's just kind of like you may see someone from something or someone because you know them, but I just wanted to level the playing field so everyone can see who everyone is. So, like, I'm just a super believer in just like networking across. Like, yeah, you can, you know, use the big person with the big name, but is it genuine when they help you, or are they just doing it because you're paying them? So I just feel like, you know, when you do things like that, we're all going to rise to the top. So, like, that is my big thing. Do not sleep on networking. A lot of opportunities I got through networking and just talking to people, just having the conversation. A lot of times when I go places and, like, I don't know, I just feel like people are just like, they don't know like how to approach me. And I always have to say, I don't eat people, y'all. Like, we can talk. Like, I promise I don't eat people. Like, I'm a regular person. I can have a regular conversation. But yeah, so it's just kind of like, from photographers to creative directors down here that I work with. And it's like, I even met my stylist through networking across. Like, I met her through Demont, who's a creative director in Charleston, at a photo shoot. And he was just like, I think she'd be good to style you. And from there, we've been locked in. So it's just kind of those things as to where, like, it can be as big or as small, but like having those conversations, going to these events, joining certain organizations locally, and like to any artist who's on here, like, and I know you're probably like, oh, well, why are you doing this interview? One, they're local. Stop sleeping and skipping over local publications and local bloggers and just local people, because at the end of the day, when you get the opportunity to be on these big platforms, you don't have your city supporting you. So it's just kind of like you have, instead of people in the comments saying, oh, I know so-and-so and so-and-so, or yeah, cheering them on, you have people who don't know you saying, who is this? Why should we root for them? I don't know. So I always say, like, do not skip past or sleep on just interviewing with your local with just your local media outlets. Because these are the conversations that people are going to go back and look. And these are the conversations that can be real. Because at the end of the day, like, you can be transparent and just have these real conversations. So, like, I just super appreciate y'all for just taking the time to, like, reach out to me, to want to have a conversation with me. Because, you know, it's crazy. A lot of times people don't even, like, locally, they don't ask me for interviews. I don't know why. I'm like, I don't know, but I like talking to y'all. So, like, I just really enjoy this. That's why, like, we want to do the interview. And y'all, when I say the professionalism, so if there are any other people who are on this live that do interviews, like, they sent me my Zoom link at least 2 weeks prior. They sent me my questions at least 2 weeks prior. So it's not like I got up here and was like confused, because I've got on, you know, I've done interviews that I've agreed to, and I don't know what's happening until we live. But I'm gonna roll with it. But it's just like the professionalism is everything. You ladies are just doing such an amazing job. So I have to take the time to give you your flowers, because you are running this like a super well-oiled machine. Like when I got the Zoom link and the questions, I was like, oh, they know what they're doing. So yeah, no, so I just really appreciate you guys just taking the time and to give me the opportunity to be showcased on your platform. So I never take things like this lightly, and I just always super appreciate it for taking the time, because in my mind, I'm just like, little old me, thank you.
And it's genuine. Like what you're seeing, guys. Like
That's how
we had the meeting
it
before. Is what it is. Like I was like, oh my gosh, she's awesome.
like we always know they're like, okay, this could be a cousin of ours.
Yes.
We just
Hello. Oh, we cousins now.
vibing.
We are.
Yes.
But yes, thank you again. And I'm gonna let Nikki go ahead and end with our favorite question. We love to ask people. We love to
Oh
ask
yeah.
people. Nikki, take it away.
I don't do it no justice like you, but I'm gonna do it.
You can do it.
What 3 words would you describe, which you already did, that can also be used as affirmations? For example, like creative, I am creative, just words like that.
Ooh, okay. One, I am charismatic. I feel like that is just really embodies who I am and who I like to be. I love to just be charismatic, just to be a good time. So I am charismatic. I am creative. I am super creative. I love that about me. Just being able to bounce off of my friends, bounce ideas just off of people, and just seeing it come to fruition. I love being able to think of something in my head and to see it play out. That is my favorite thing to do. And to anyone on this live, to take an idea as a concept and to make it an actual thing, because that's not an easy task to do, and I feel like a lot of people sleep on that. My third one, I say charismatic, creative. I am. I'm a. You know what? And not to even be cheesy, but like I am a good person, and I feel like a lot of times, like people may get intimidated because like they look at the follower account or they look at the accomplishments that I've done, and they just like try to put an ego on me that I never said was there. So I always, when people meet me and they're just like, oh, you're really cool. Like I take that to heart so much, and I appreciate it a lot, because like that's why I tell people, like, yeah, when they come up, when people come up to me and they're like, I know you, and I was like, you don't know me, you know of me, but you can get to know me. So when people do take the opportunity and they get to know me and they realize that, like, you know what, she's actually a cool person, and because a lot of times I've met influencers and they're not who they are on social media, and I always tell people, I never, like, I don't care if I'm just having an off day. Anytime anyone comes up to me and they're just excited to meet me, like, I never want someone to be like, I met Kris Kaylin and she's a this, or she wasn't a good vibe. I never want that to happen. So like at the end of the day, like I just deep down just want to be a good person, and I just want people to get good energy when they see me. And yeah, just being authentic. Like nothing is ever fake. Now, if I don't like you, you're going to know. But most importantly, I just try to be a good, authentic person. So I am charismatic, I am creative, and I am a good person.
Love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're big on words here because the
Yes.
way you think, that's the way you're gonna behave and show yourself to the world.
It's power in
So,
the tongue. You know what's so crazy?
yes.
Before, when 2023 started, I was writing down things that I wanted for the new year. And the first 3 things that I wrote down, the third one was be a co-host on the Breakfast Club. It's power in the tongue. It's
Life
power
and
in the
death.
tongue. And I
Life
will
and
say
death
fifth,
lies in you.
listen, fifth, and then in my whole thing, you just can't say those things. You got to put in the work, because faith without work is dead. But you also got to realize you just need the amount of faith that's the size of a mustard seed, and that's about that big. So you just got to have a little bit. You just got to have a little bit and just do the work.
Well, she said it. You heard it. The Princess of Charleston said it herself. So you guys haven't been listening to us. Take it for Chris, because that is some truth in it. If you talk to anybody that has had to go through different journeys to get to where they wanted to see themselves at life, even see where God, surpassed their limitations, it's the way your mindset is. You have to change your mindset, and it's very important that you be around that network of people. And so, Chris, thank you again. And before we really end this, what future projects do you have going on that we need to tune into? Please share them.
Yes.
Please
So
share them.
If you're not following me, make sure you're following me, Kris Kaylin, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, _Kris Kaylin on Twitter. My podcast, the What Was Said podcast, shout out to Clay, who I do the podcast with. We will be dropping a new episode on Wednesday. I have some amazing interviews lined up with some artists. So I have an interview dropping with our daughter on the 17th, and an interview dropping with Queena, who just released her album on this week. So I'm super excited about these interviews that I have coming up. The next up playlist drops every Friday. So make sure you are submitting your music to be on the playlist. And I actually have some voiceover work projects that are coming up, but I'll drop that a little later. But I will be lending my voice to some national projects that I'm super excited about. And yeah, if you're having an event and you want to be on In the Loop, make sure you're submitting that. All of my information is on my page. And once again, I just super thank you, ladies, so much. And a quote that I always end with, that I love so much, that I've been using since college, and it's never let success go to your head, and never let failures go to your heart.
Wow.
You.
That was
Thank you.
powerful.
It is Kris.
Powerful.
And I will
Kris
say,
Kaylin.
the Grammys come on tonight, and I always say it's power in the tongue. This time next year, I will be on the red carpet interviewing.
Oh,
for the
yeah.
Grammys.
Oh,
I can
yeah.
see that.
So,
Oh, yeah.
you
We're going
can
to tune
post,
in.
yeah, you can post that for 2025,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I will be on the red carpet at the Grammys, and I'm
And
very
you can
serious about that.
do it. You can do it just a tab, and hopefully I can get some things to work. One of my friends, she has her own studio. Last year, she was at like the BET Awards
See?
covering that.
Mm-hmm.
Power.
And I did the radio room.
There's
I did the
power if you
radio room.
speak it. You
Yes.
speak
So
it.
because of Charlemagne, I was able to do the BET Awards radio room, and I'm planning. I want to be back there this year for 2024. So all of these things we are
Grammys.
just speaking into
Here we go.
existence. And as always, I'm taking Charleston with me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So support your girl. And thank you again,
Thank
Kris.
you guys so much. I appreciate you guys so much, and thank you to everyone who stayed on the live. So thank you guys.
Thank
And
you guys so much. And
thank
this
you.
full video will be up on our YouTube. And thank you all for watching. You want to say something, Tiff? I know you can't see me.
Oh
So
no, I was going to just say what you said. If you guys missed it, if you were coming in, we're going to have it on YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can go ahead and follow us on our Instagram too, as well. If you enjoy this content and many more, we have some, like I said, we have some exciting interviews and special guests lined up. We just locked in one today. We're gonna have HBCU Legacy Fashion. We're gonna have Miss
Oh,
Shalana Folk.
awesome.
yep.
She's gonna be going ahead showcasing her stuff on Sunday, April 28th at 7 p.m. So I'm so excited.
I'm gonna
I'm so excited
hop
because
on, because I hope
she
she got
has
some
a
Lexi
good,
Fit merch.
exciting journey to share with you all. She was always focused, and so I'm excited about that. We have some other people lined up too. Nikki can go ahead and give you the other two we have.
All right. So we got, oh man, I'm caught off guard. We have Sierra of Nicely Place Organizing to help you, get your life organized in your house and in your workspace, office space. She does a whole bunch of stuff. I know I need that. She's located in Charlotte. And then we have right here in Charleston, a Kua page that's going to give us some Gullah Geechee history.
Love that.
So we all can know about that. So I'll just check the page. The schedule's on posted.
Awesome.
And I
make sure y'all are following this page. Follow this page.
Thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you.
This is awesome. I'm just like overwhelmed.
Thank you so much. And if you guys know anybody that like to, to share their experiences or share their businesses and stuff, that's why we're here. We that's pretty much our platform. We're building a network of people to promote Black-owned and local businesses. We want to go ahead and share that. So we believe it starts at home first and we branch out. So it's the Carolinas, it's Virginia, it's Georgia. So it's just housed in Charleston, but we're here to share. So
networking across in real time.
Yes.
So thank you guys again for joining us, and we hope you have a great evening.
Thank you
Bye.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.